Did you know the new Toyota Supra is powered by the BMW B58 engine? That's right. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Mark with Exotic Car Play Place, and today because this was such a controversial discussion for Toyota to utilize BMW's drivetrain for the new Toyota Supra, the question was asked of Toyota's chief design engineer, Tetsuya Tada, who actually had a great response, and it came down to economics. Because when we talk about economics, BMW actually is providing not only the engine, but the 8-speed automatic transmission, as well as a large part of the chassis from their cars are going into this new Supra. Now that saves a whole host of dollars for research and development, and that's why Toyota elected to utilize something by BMW. Now BMW had the perfect ingredients. They had a performance engine, it was 6 cylinders, inline, and it was turbocharged. And it also provided a hefty amount of horsepower that was consistent with the brand. It was consistent with the expectations for a new Toyota Supra, which will be, of course, hitting the streets much, much sooner than later, of course. Now, Toyota knew that they had to sleeve in a 6-cylinder turbocharged engine into the Supra, because anything different than that would be heresy. It would be frowned upon extremely by the purist. It was bad enough that they had to reach out to BMW already to provide the drivetrain and gearbox for this particular car. And as I mentioned before, Toyota utilized not only the engine, they used the 8-speed auto and the chassis from BMW. Now fret not, you purists out there. Of course, the engine was fettled slightly so that the Toyota design engineers, or the engineers at Toyota, tweaked things so it matched more of the Toyota's or the Supra's expectation of performance. It was different. It was a different power delivery than you would kind of get from a BMW. It was unique, if you will. Now, the 8-speed auto was as well tuned specific, and the chassis will be dialed in according to more the Toyota specifications. So ultimately, we know it's economics, and that was admitted to by the engineer at Toyota. But economics comes in threefold. There's 3 key reasons why a car company would consider economics when designing a car. And you guys all know already by now that Toyota and Lexus have great cars, great drivetrains in their history. And I know you're going to ask the question, why would they not utilize an engine from, say, the ISF, but that's an V8. How about the wonderful LFA drivetrain? Well, see, that's where economics comes in, because the LFA, if you guys didn't already know, was scrapped a couple of times. It was reworked. The original prototype came out with an aluminum chassis or aluminum shell, and of course they quickly realized that it was way too heavy with all the glass and the aluminum. It was still too heavy to be effective. So they reworked everything and they created a carbon fiber chassis or carbon fiber body shell to drop some of the weight. Well, that reworking cost a lot of R&D, research and development dollars, and unfortunately, that put Toyota or Lexus in a place where they lost money on every single car that they sold. Did you know that? So that is why largely Toyota is very sensitive to the research development costs on a low production car such as the Toyota Supra. So again, before we get into the top 3 reasons, remember, Toyota is no longer looking at low volume cars. They're not looking at that specialty car anymore. As a matter of fact, Toyota is really large into the hybrid cars. They're looking at their mainstream stuff. The cars that, are the tried and true, reliable, sedans and SUVs that cater to a large volume of people. They're not really focused anymore on the low volume cars like a Supra or LFA, they really tread lightly because they know the kind of dollars and economical implications it has if you make a bad move. So here's the 3 reasons to consider why Toyota opted to go with a BMW drivetrain. Number 1 is the deliverables. So they designed a car. The new Supra has been sitting in the wings for quite some time now. There's been a lot of debate about it. There's been a lot of discussion about what it's going to look like, the performance, the whole attributes of the new Supra. Now, unfortunately, by the time they decided to pull the trigger, the deliverables needed to be there. They needed to have all the parts in place. The research and development had to be not only in place, it actually had to be completed. They had to have an engine that was strong enough as well as met the criteria that they were looking for that car. And of course, they didn't have the deliverables. They didn't have an engine suitable for the duty that they were expecting for the new Supra. So they had to go seeking for an inline 6-cylinder turbocharged engine. And they found it at BMW. The second reason why Toyota likely opted for a BMW drivetrain and transmission is accountability. Now, I come from a business in my previous life where often you seek out for contract help for building, for designing, as well as supplying of parts and equipment. Now, that not only is a convenient way to spec something, let somebody else handle it for you and design and worry about all the details, it's also a way to shed accountability. Now, we know that some of these cars are high-performance engines. High-performance cars, the Supra, the LFA, BMW M cars, all those cars are high-performance, and there's a risk of reliability concerns. Toyota and Lexus know already that they do not want to risk that reputation. So what do? They seek out a third party like BMW to provide that equipment, the transmission, the engine, part of the chassis. They've subbed that out for BMW. So number 1, it gets that deliverable, which we already discussed. But number 2, if there in fact is a problem with the drivetrain supplied by another vendor, it is very, very easy for Toyota to do and wash their hands of it and say, well, that was actually provided by BMW. Number 1, we can shed some blame. And number 2, we can also chase that third party now for quality control, deficiency repairs, and all those kind of things. They can seek out BMW now for damages and additional costs associated with that third party engine supply. Now, the third reason why they probably decided to go with a BMW drivetrain is experience. Now, whoa, hang on, guys. I know a lot of you guys are going to argue and say, well, Toyota, they're perfect. They built the Supra. They built several generations of Supra. They built the LFA, the ISF. They know how to build a car. We know that. That's not the question. When I say experience, they've learned not only from their own experience on losses, economical losses that they sustained with the LFA. That's part of the learning. That's part of an experience. And they know that a low production car is going to cost them dearly to possibly create, research, develop that car, and put it into production. Lots of additional costs. So they've experienced that. Now they're going to learn from that. They also understand that BMW is very experienced in designing high-performance engines. Do you forget about a lot of the crazy cars that BMW has created or created engines for? We've got the M4 GTS. We've got the M5 E60 right here with the wonderful V10. We've got a lot of the newer creations. They also created monsters like the McLaren F1. Do you forget that animal? Over 600 horsepower and was legendary still to this day. They know that BMW is very experienced in high-performance drivetrains, and they're going to tap into that experience bank and rely on BMW to provide an engine that is tunable, reliable, powerful, and most of all, suits the application that Toyota was looking for in the new Supra. So everybody, I really hope you enjoyed the video. 3 main reasons why Toyota opted to walk away from designing their own engine and subbed out an engine designed by BMW and utilize that engine in the new Toyota Supra. And I really hope you guys, if you have any other theories on this, please make sure you drop a line down in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your opinion on this. Do you think it's a bad move by Toyota to adopt a BMW engine? Do you think it's a good idea that they did this? And why? I'd love to hear your guys' reasoning about that. And as well, make sure you give my video a thumbs up, like, and don't forget to subscribe down in that little subscribe button at the very bottom. I'd love to see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.